Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Magnificent Middle Grade. I'm Julia Smith, Senior Editor for Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so that they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Colette Perry, Marketing Design Associate at Charlesbridge, Bree George, Sales Manager at Shadow Mountain Publishing, Morgana Santilli, Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press, Golda Rademacher, Library Sales and Marketing Director at W.W. Norton Company, and Maddie Hughes, Associate Manager for School and Library Marketing at Disney Publishing. First, we'll hear from Colette Perry. Colette has been working in marketing with Charlesbridge Publishing for 5 years. She grew up in Portland, Oregon, and holds a bachelor's in communications and music from Simmons University. Colette lives in Boston, in the Boston area, and loves poring over vintage picture book illustrations. Thanks for joining us today, Colette.
Thank you, Julia. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start with an introduction to our new imprint, Charlesbridge Moves, then look at middle grade titles under our main Charlesbridge imprint, and then take a quick look back at the greatest hits of 2023. I am so excited to introduce you to Charlesbridge Moves, a new middle grade imprint from Charlesbridge Publishing. Charlesbridge Moves excites middle grade and chapter book readers with adventure, science fiction, fantasy, historical and realistic fiction, mystery, and humor, sparking a curiosity to read more. Whether through traditional prose, verse, or graphic novel elements, our stories grow and sustain an appetite for reading over the long term, especially with boys and reluctant readers. Each Charlesbridge Moves title comes with a dust jacket that converts to a poster, as well as a web page where readers can find extra activities that make the reading experience special. Previously published titles under Move Books include the Lost Tribes series by Christine Taylor Butler, Indiana Jones-flavored adventures with extra science fiction and a double helping of real science and history will make for a gripping, satisfying read. Also previously published in this imprint are 2 titles by Paul Gracie, Surviving Bear Island and Follow the River. These engaging survival adventures set in the Alaskan wilderness are chock full of thrills and real-life peril, perfect for fans of Hatchet and My Side of the Mountain. Coming May 7th from Charlesbridge Moves, The Kid by Jeff Schill is a witty, fast-paced, and cleverly woven Western adventure. The year is 1881 in Destiny, Colorado, and newly orphaned 14-year-old Henry Upton will be darned if he lets the state take away his little brothers. They can keep the farm going if they stick together and no grown-ups come sniffing around. So he writes a series of stories for Gunslinger magazine about the kid, fastest draw in the West, to earn a little extra money and scare people away from their town. But then a real-life outlaw decides to come hunt down the kid for his own chance at fame and glory on the magazine covers. It's going to take all of Henry's wits and a little unlikely help from his City Slicker editor to beat Snake Eye Sam and save Destiny. Readers hungry for more from this quirky, heartfelt Western adventure can use the QR code on the jacket to visit the kids' webpage for games, videos, and downloadable extras. Let's hear a word or two from author Jeff Schill about the making of The Kid.
Growing up, my dad always had a Clint Eastwood Western on the weekends. I read Louis L'Amour stories, and then there's certainly history has influenced it. I was a high school history teacher, so history's always been a part of what I've enjoyed and what I've liked. But I think when I set out to write this book, I didn't really want to write a history book or even really a Western. I wanted to write something that kids today could resonate with. And I really think, even though this takes place in the Old West, it's something that kids will understand because the themes fit with what they're dealing with now. It's about fitting in, it's about the importance of family and holding on to family, trying to do the right thing, but ending up getting off track as you're trying to do the right thing. I think those are things that resonate with kids even today. And it just happens to be a story that takes place in the 1800s in the Old West. Is it too easy to say I just want them to have fun? That's why I became a reluctant reader. I just wanted these fun stories and I ran out of them. And I think my goal here was just to provide some fun for kids and allow them to get away from the hassles of school and the things that are going on, and they can just find themselves in other characters. I had a blast writing it. I think the characters are fun. They find themselves in a lot of funny, strange situations, and I hope people enjoy it.
Next up, in Hum by William David Thomas, 11-year-old Alan has a persistent nightmare, a habit of humming, and trouble connecting with other kids. So it's time for him and his grandmother to make a fresh start in the small village of Newcomb, New York. But when he meets an old llama at a winter festival, the encounter reveals a language he didn't know he could speak and throws into question everything he thought he knew about his childhood and his parents' deaths. When the llama's life is threatened, Alan vows to free it, embarking on a desperate trek through a snowy wilderness, where he comes to terms with the lies about his past while struggling against the elements for survival. Coming July 16th, Hum is a clever and funny story about small-town life, family secrets, wilderness survival, and, of course, a talking llama. In Wings to Soar by Tina Athaide, Viva misses the big blue Oxford Dictionary where she and her father would look up words together. She misses their home in Uganda, but most of all, she misses her father. The year is 1972, and Viva's family has been expelled, along with thousands of other Indian residents of Uganda. Her father was supposed to meet them in London, but he never showed up. So Viva and her mother and sister try to make the best of life in the resettlement camp, and then a new neighborhood in London, struggling against racism and anti-refugee sentiments while getting ready to finish their move to Canada. But first, they have to find Viva's missing father. Coming July 23rd, this compelling novel in verse follows a resilient girl as she forges friendships and makes her way through a turbulent time. Fans of The Remarkable Rescue at Milkweed Meadow will be thrilled to find the sequel, The Perilous Performance at Milkweed Meadow. Let's begin at the beginning. Author Elaine Demopoulos and Caldecott Award-winning illustrator Doug Salati are here to refresh your memories about The Remarkable Rescue at Milkweed Meadow.
The Remarkable Rescue at Milkweed Meadow is a middle grade animal adventure story. It's about a colony of rabbits with a strong storytelling tradition, and also a belief that rabbits are superior to other species. So the story is actually about a young rabbit named Butternut who must sort of push back against her family's strict rules and beliefs, first in order to make friends with other meadow creatures, and then ultimately to organize a daring rescue of creatures in need. So ultimately, the novel celebrates compassion and courage and doing the right thing. And it is certainly a celebration of stories and how stories are so important and they can change our lives.
Can you give us a little teaser about book number 2?
Absolutely. I cannot believe I got to write book number 2 and then it's going to be published and that Doug is illustrating it again. It's a dream. It's an absolute dream. The sequel is called The Perilous Performance at Milkweed Meadow. And in it, a theatrical troupe of turkeys comes to Milkweed Meadow in the summer, at the beginning of the summer, and they say, we want to put on a show. We want to involve the entire meadow in a giant kind of spectacular musical production. The sequel asks the question, since stories and storytelling are such a big part of this world, of Butternut's world, what happens when stories turn into lies? So Butternut has to sort of wrestle with that question and the ethics around storytelling and lies and truth-telling.
The Remarkable Rescue at Milkweed Meadow is available now in hardcover, with paperback release scheduled for fall of 2024. As for The Perilous Performance, Butternut the rabbit and her meadow creature friends are back and better than ever after pulling off a daring rescue operation. But then a flamboyant troupe of theatrical turkeys struts onto the scene, and they want everyone to join in the show. Everyone, that is, except Butternut the storyteller, who flubs her audition and gets put on the stage crew instead. Butternut doesn't feel quite right about these new arrivals, but is it just anxiety about being overshadowed? Or is there something more sinister at work? It's going to take help from some very unexpected helpers to make things right and save the meadow. Coming May 21st, this heartwarming story inspires hard questions about trust. How to trust our instincts, how to trust our creative talents, and how to trust those who know and love us, even when it's hard. For young nonfiction readers, and anyone fascinated by the sea, A Window into the Ocean Twilight Zone is a stunning new chronicle of a 24-day research expedition aboard the Sarmiento de Gamboa. Climb aboard with author Michelle Cusolito for the voyage of a lifetime. With stunning photo illustrations and an engaging narrative, we meet a team of scientists from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute and the many tools and techniques they use to study the deep ocean. Specimens galore enliven the pages: hatchetfish, lanternfish, bioluminescent atolla jellies, and even a tiny strawberry squid. With humorous stories about bad weather, epic science, and surprisingly delicious shipboard meals, Cusolito brings home the importance of studying our planet's last frontier. Back matter includes tips for kids who want to become oceanographers and tons of extra resources for further learning. Just recently released in the fall of 2023, Monster vs. Boy by Karen Crossing is a fantastical exploration of family, friendship, and mental illness. Dawes does not want to see a monster in his closet that no one else can see. Mim does not want to share her space with the horrible boy outside the closet. When Mim leaves Dawes' closet for the first time, the two learn they're connected in ways neither can explain. While Mim searches the world for a friend, Dawes searches for a way to get rid of her so that he can be normal. Can they break free of each other without losing who they are? And last but certainly not least, a native-themed school mascot, an 8th grade English class, and the whole town of Rye, Virginia come head-to-head in Mascot, a compelling novel in verse from award-winning authors Charles Waters and Tracy Sorrell. As of April 2023, nearly 2,000 schools in the U.S. still use native-themed mascots. This incredibly rich and nuanced book is a must-read for school communities across the country who are wrestling with tradition, identity, racism, and justice for their students. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at cperry@charlesbridge.com. Digital galleys, downloadable activities, extra video content, and more are available on our website at www.charlesbridge.com/mgwebinar. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much, Colette. Now we'll hear from Bree George. Bree's experience with Shadow Mountain titles dates back to elementary school when she first read Fablehaven. Her love of reading has continued to grow since then, and she feels privileged to work in publishing. She graduated from Weber State University with a bachelor's in English and a minor in literary editing. Thanks for being here today, Bree.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to join us. As was said, my name is Bree, and I am going to be presenting some of our upcoming middle grade titles. So let's get straight into it. Our first title is The Witch in the Woods by Michael Brent Collings. It is coming March 5th. And Michael Brent is the author of several horror novels. A lot of them are adult. This is the first one that he has published with us, and this is a middle grade. So we are really excited to have him. This is a brand new middle grade fantasy series for fans of Fablehaven. This is book 1. It is a cross between Stranger Things and Grimm's fairy tales. Our main characters are twins Jake and Willow Grimm. They are actually direct descendants of the original Grimm brothers, and at the beginning of the story, they learn from their parents that they are moving to a town called New Marburg, Idaho, and they are not excited about it. They do not want to go, but they don't have much of a say, so they end up going to New Marburg, and as soon as they get there, they start to notice weird things about New Marburg. There are robots policing the city, and there are elderly people who are flying around with jetpacks and lightning swords, and they're really not sure what to make of this wild ride that they're experiencing. But things get even weirder when they are sucked into Grimworld. Grimworld is an alternate universe that is full of fairy tales, and suddenly their new best friends are Hansel and Gretel, and their teacher is the witch from Hansel and Gretel, and they have to find a way to rescue their friends before some awful fate befalls them. And there is a much larger story as well that ends up unfolding, where we learn that Jake and Willow have a big role in Grimworld and in establishing stability to their universe. So there we have Grimworld. Some core themes in the story include facing your fears, relying on the strength of family and friends, trusting in your own strength, and that kindness is always the answer. Michael Brent Collins calls himself the hopeful horror writer, and we see that throughout the story. Even though there are some spooky themes in here, there are also a lot of hopeful themes, and we learn that what Michael Brent believes, which is that horror is actually a manifestation of hope, because horror is just us having the fear that one day we're going to wake up and that we're not going to be able to enjoy all the things that we enjoy now. So we see those themes interlaced throughout Grimworld. Moving on to our next title. Here we have Millie by McCall Hoyle. McCall Hoyle is the author of Stella, which was nominated for 14 Best Book of the Year state awards. Millie is the third book of the Best Friends Dogtale series. We are calling them a series, but they are all standalone, so you don't have to read Stella and Just Gus to understand what's going on in Millie. But they are all stories that are told from the dog's point of view, and they are second chance stories with empathy building themes. So for Millie, we have the story of Millie, who is a border terrier, and she was actually abandoned as a pup, and so she lives alone in the streets. She has a really hard time trusting others. She barks and she snarls when others come nearby, and she ends up meeting Tori, who is also dealing with some of the same issues. Tori has been living with her grandfather because her mother hasn't been able to take care of her because of some things that have been going on in her life. And Tori also has been struggling in school since she has a reading disability. So they have a lot in common, but Tori has actually been able to develop emotional resilience and coping skills. And so by the time that she helps Millie, she is able to help Millie out with some of these things. Tori ends up taking Millie to dog training. They end up bonding, and it is a story about how Tori and Millie are able to find a second home and a second chance within each other, how they are able to find trust and belonging. Moving on to our next title. Here we have Sleeping Spells and Dragon Scales by Wendy S. Swore. Wendy is the best-selling author of A Monster Like Me, and this is the story of two children with invisible illnesses. So Liam has narcolepsy and Elena has type 1 diabetes, but at the beginning of the story, they don't know that Liam has narcolepsy. So he is falling asleep during soccer practice, and Elena, who happens to have an extensive knowledge of fairy tales, decides that she is going to conduct an investigation with her knowledge of fairy tales. And so she tells Liam, well, I know what happened to you. You were cursed by fairies, which obviously isn't the case, but it ends up launching us into this fun investigation where we have realistic fiction, but it has a hint of fantasy, and it's told from a dual point of view. The author, Wendy S. Swore, was actually diagnosed with narcolepsy as an adult, which makes this an own voices story. She was speaking to a young boy who has narcolepsy, and he was telling her that the other kids treat me like I'm furniture. I feel like I'm disappearing. And so that was part of the reason why Wendy decided to write Sleeping Spells and Dragon Scales, is to give these children with invisible illnesses a voice, and also for children who don't have invisible illnesses, to help them develop empathy for their peers who do. Another thing about this title that I think is notable is that Wendy is actually also the illustrator, so all of these illustrations that appear throughout the book were done by Wendy herself. Moving on to The Legend of the Last Library, this is a dystopian action and adventure title by Frank L. Cole, who is the author of the best-selling Potion Master series. This is ultimately a book about books that champions the power of reading in libraries. It is set in a dystopian world 200 years into the future. A major weather disaster has destroyed most of the trees, which has made paper very, very rare and books more valuable than gold. So we have our protagonist, Junie, who lives with her grandfather, and her grandfather he's very sick and he needs medical care. But it is going to be very expensive medical care, and the only way that Junie can think that she will be able to afford it is by getting a lot of paper, because a lot of paper is going to give her a lot of money. So she decides to embark on a quest to find the last library, which is sort of a legend among her society. Some people think that it exists, some people don't, and so she goes with her friends to find the last library, but the government does not want her to find the last library. The government has been controlling all the information that the citizens have been able to receive, and they do not want the citizens to know how to read or to use their imagination, so they end up sending their robo-dogs after Junie and her friends. And so we have a lot of action and adventure. As you can imagine, this book talks a lot about censorship, but it also talks about friendship and courage and identity, as the protagonist Junie discovers who her parents were and the role that they played in her quest and the way that they aided her. So this one is coming in August. The last title that I wanted to share with you today is What Kept Playing by Emily Huey. It is illustrated by Kay King, and this is the picture book biography of Asian American basketball hero Wat Misaka, who was the first non-white player in the NBA, which was known as the BAA at the time. This happened the same year that Jackie Robinson joined the MLB, and so we talk about Wat going to the NBA, but we also talk about, in this book, Wat's family's experience at the outbreak of World War II. At the time, Wat lived with his family in Utah. They were able to stay in their home, but Wat and his Japanese American classmates did have to leave school, and they did face discrimination. So Wat found himself in a position at a young age, loving Japanese culture and loving American culture, but he felt like he didn't really belong in either sphere of the world, and he felt like he wasn't really accepted, and he really struggled with that. And when he did struggle with this, he would turn to basketball. Walt was only 5'7", but he was so fast and he was so good. He was a whiz on the court. He ended up leading the Utah Utes to a championship, and he ended up joining the New York Knicks after that. So this is really a story that will inspire young readers to challenge barriers and to dream big despite their difficulties. Okay, that's all the titles that I have to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. ARCs of these titles are available on NetGalley and Edelweiss, so feel free to log on and to request those. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. My email is right there on the screen. Thanks so much, and I hope that everyone enjoys your day.
Thank you, Bree. Next, we'll hear from Morgana Santilli. Morgana is the sales and marketing coordinator at Yen Press. She is a former comic shop manager and buyer, and always particularly loved helping readers find their new favorite reads. Other than reading manga, Morgana enjoys drinking lots of tea, snuggling with her 2 black cats, and collecting too many books for her children's personal library. The floor is yours, Morgana.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. As we said, my name is Morgana. I'm the sales and marketing coordinator at Yen Press. A lot of you may recognize us from as the publisher of manga and light novels, which is the majority of what we do. But we also have an imprint called JY, in which we focus on middle grade graphic novels and prose as well. Can I get to the next slide, please? I'm going to start today by talking a little bit about our graphic novel offerings. This is Amy's Big Brother. It just came out in December. It is the second book by Bonhyung Jeong. Some of you may have seen her debut graphic novel, also from JY, called Kyle's Little Sister. Amy's Big Brother is a companion to Kyle's Little Sister, but you don't need to have read one to read the other. And I'll talk about Kyle's in a minute, but Amy's Big Brother is a really, really great new graphic novel that focuses on Andrew, who is entering middle school, and he is dealing with conflict at home with his little sister, of course, because little sisters are nothing but trouble. I know because I have one myself. And he is also kind of dealing with feelings about, Amy, his little sister, is his parents' biological daughter, but he is actually adopted. So you have a little bit of that perspective in here as well. But he's determined to get a fresh start in middle school, doesn't have to deal with his little sister. He's going to make friends. And as he gets there, he meets a young woman who he falls immediately in love with. Love at first sight kind of deals with these first feelings of romance. So he meets Hannah, and she's just perfect in every way. He manages to become her friend and ask her out. And this story, I mean, teenage or preteen romance is not uncommon certainly in graphic novels for this age group. But there's something really wonderful in Amy's Big Brother where Andrew and Hannah are kind of at different points in their relationship. Andrew's really into it. He wants to be the best boyfriend ever. He's really committed, and Hannah feels like maybe he's coming on a little too strong. So this story really explores issues around communication and trying to be on the same page. And it does have a sweet kind of family edge to it too. And Amy turns out to be not so bad. If you could get the next slide, please. I'm going to show you some of Bon's artwork. I love her art. You can see certainly that it is influenced by manga, but she has her own style as well, and her use of color and facial expression is just incredible. Really, really engaging, fun read. I particularly liked Amy's Big Brother. Just reading it and immersing myself in the story and feeling those feelings of middle school romance once again, middle school conflict, was a little troubling, but also a lot of fun. Next slide, please. So once again, Kyle's Little Sister is Bonhyung Jeong's debut graphic novel, and it centers on Grace, who likewise is entering middle school and is going to have to join the school that her older brother is part of. And he is kind of the kind of everybody's favorite guy, right? He's, he's smart, he's good looking, he's good at basketball, and Grace feels like she just can't compare. So that you have a likewise sibling rivalry here that kind of ends up being a sweet story about having siblings and what family means, as well as those middle school conflicts, which in this case is Grace and her close friend group having some conflict. But this came out a couple years ago. I just wanted to mention it because, again, it is a companion to Amy's Big Brother, and I definitely recommend both. But again, you don't have to read the one in order to read the other. They are standalone. Next slide, please. Many of you are probably already familiar with Svetlana Shmakova and the Berrybrook Middle School series. I just wanted to bring it up really quickly. Awkward, Brave, and Crush, some of the best middle grade graphic novels out there. I love them. I know that readers love them. We always get people asking about them. These are perennial favorites, all available in paperback right now. Next slide, please. Can see some of Svet's beautiful artwork, also definitely manga influenced, but wholly something of her own. And she's been making comics for a very long time, and I think it shows. She's just really incredible. Again, with her use of expression and paneling and movement, really fun. Next slide, please. Enemies recently came out. I know that sometimes it's easy to miss when the latest in a series comes out, and because people are always asking us about Berrybrook, I want to make sure I mentioned Enemies, the latest in the series. As with Kyle's little sister and Amy's big brother, the Berrybrook books do not have to be read in order. But they do have characters that are in every story. So in this story, you have Felicity, who is a character in the previous volumes as well. But this story kind of centers on her and her inability to focus on a project and complete it in time, and also some of that friendship conflict you're talking about in some of the other middle grade books. Once again, Svet's incredible artwork, incredible storytelling is well on display here. I know that there are many fans of the Berrybrook books, so I wanted to make sure that everyone knew there is another one out there. It's available now. Next slide, please. And finally, I want to talk about a new endeavor we started in November of last year. They are prose novels that are really intended to appeal to kids who love anime and manga. These are books from Japan for a middle grade audience, part of Kadokawa's Tsubasa Bunko line that are very popular with readers in Japan. And they include really fun manga-esque artwork, illustrations, and really engaging stories that middle grade readers love. So I'm going to tell you about the 4 titles that we have in the JY Prose novels line right now. Next slide, please. So first up is Phantom Thief Red. This is a really fun adventure story about Asuka, who is a young girl, 12, going on 13, really spunky female protagonist. She finds out while she's on spring break that she is the heir to the title of Phantom Thief Red, she and her cousin as well, Kay. So their fathers have been carrying out these Robin Hood-esque phantom thief missions, and now it is up to them to take on the mantle and kind of engage in these high stakes heists. So a lot of fun, really great title for kids who love adventure stories. Again, really spunky female protagonist. Her cousin Kay is kind of a quiet genius. So really fun character types there that play off of each other. And of course, including some beautiful illustrations. Next slide, please. Horror Collector is a great title for that kid who can't get enough goosebumps. It is a spooky tale that kind of follows this mysterious character in a red hood as he goes from town to town kind of investigating these famous Japanese urban legends. And as children in these towns kind of grapple with these supernatural phenomenon. It is spooky, definitely very scary. So definitely not for the faint of heart, but for that kid who really can't get enough of Halloween and spookiness and urban legends, this is a great title. Next slide, please. Canine Detective Chris is a really sweet and adorable mystery series that follows Chris, who is a Shiba Inu, who is a retired police dog. He had to leave the police force because he is deathly afraid of bugs, and it kind of prevented him from carrying out his duties. He is adopted by Hinata, a shy boy in the 5th grade, and the two kind of end up needing to help the police officers in their town solve various crimes. So the first volume centers around a jewel heist, for example. So a great series for anybody who is into mysteries, obviously, things like Nancy Drew, Scooby-Doo, Adventure Time, things like that. And it's a really, really cute dog. Next slide, please. Finally, we have Online, which is a kind of death game type story where students in the school are being made to play this cursed video game. If they don't play, they disappear. And they need to play every single day and in order to keep themselves safe and also keep their loved ones safe. So it's a escalating suspense thriller for the middle grade set. Really tense action here. The illustrations are by Shinichiro Otsuka, who is the artist behind the character designs and illustrations for the ReZero light novels, which Yen Press also publishes. So an established artist that a lot of people know about already. But again, these are these last 4 titles that I mentioned are all prose novels for middle graders that include illustrations as well. And next slide. And that's all for me. Most of these are available as digital review copies on Edelweiss. Please feel free to request them or get in contact with me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morgana. Next, we'll hear from Golda Rademacher. Golda is the Library Sales and Marketing Director at W.W. Norton. You can sign up for her seasonal newsletter for ARC giveaways and find her on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter at W.W. Norton Library. Take it away, Golda.
Thank you, Julia, and hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I have a range of titles from Norton Young Readers, Thames and Hudson, Abbeville, and Tilbury House to show you today. So the first book comes out in May. The Race to Be Myself is a middle grade adaptation of Caster Semenya's memoir. In this book, Caster focuses on her childhood in South Africa, being accepted by her family and friends, and getting into running. The book details her trailblazing fight for the right to compete in professional sports on her own terms. This is an illuminating and necessary story of identity and self-acceptance that will resonate with young readers. Caster's memoir for adults was named a Booklist Editor's Choice title for adult books for teens, and now there will be an option for the middle school level. Journey is the 6th book in our Eyewitness series of narrative nonfiction. Each of these books is autobiographical and talks about something the author went through as a teenager or young adult that led them to be more of an activist in their community. When Luis was a young teen, he journeyed alone to the US to stay with his father, who had come years earlier to find work. Then he had to adapt to a new city and a new culture that did not look kindly on him. With a voice that is both accessible and engaging, Luis brings forward an empowering first-person account of a young man finding strength in his identity and using this strength to become a community leader, a police intervention activist, and an advocate for mental health. And here are the other books in the Eyewitness series. These are all good if you're looking for more first-person nonfiction for your readers. We also have an educator's guide available that covers the first 4 books in the series. Legends of Women's Gymnastics is a new sport for Abbeville's Sports Legends series. This is coming out right in time for the Summer Olympics and features the still competing legend Simone Biles on the cover and text by sports reporter Andrea Joyce. The book features 28 different athletes with photos, introductory information, and all sorts of statistics. And here are some of the latest books in the Abbeville Sports series. The soccer books have been popular for years, and they recently started expanding into baseball, football, and basketball. For your kids who like graphic novels, mystery, and a cheeky sense of humor, we have Miss Cat, The Case of the Curious Canary. This new series has a noir sensibility. Following the trail of the missing canary, Miss Cat encounters the alluring Doris and aggressive Wolfgang, her talking dog. What could they be trying to hide? And could the elderly Maximus and the dashing Mixus the Magnificent, a magician with extraordinary powers, actually be the same person? Miss Cat must uncover the truth and get everything back to normal. We got an early review from Kirkus, which called it a sly caper featuring a particularly clever, observant, and memorably clad sleuth. And the next book in the series is scheduled for fall 2024. Bright Stars of Black British History brings to life historical figures from Tudor England to the present day. Each section covers a different era and gives historical context. There are illustrations and biographical sketches of each person, along with information about the impact they have had in shaping culture, shifting public opinion, and changing British history. This is a great way to introduce some lesser-known figures to your Black history curriculum. For your budding astronomers, we have Universal Guide to the Night Sky. Learn everything you need to know about binoculars, telescopes, and photographing the stars. Explore comets and meteors, stars, planets, and moons. Find galaxies and glowing gas clouds. Spot supernova and enjoy eclipses. Lisa Harvey Smith is an award-winning astronomer and professor at the University of New South Wales, and the book has illustrations by Sophie Beer, which help make the pages lively and interesting. The Brainiacs book of the Body and the Brain is the 3rd book in the Brainiacs series from Thames and Hudson. This is browsable nonfiction that also has some easy activities and experiments. Aimed at curious children who want to know how their body works and how their brain keeps it running every day, the book answers both need-to-know and quirky questions about the bodies we live in. Bang by Jennifer Smith is printed with luminescent inks that seem to glow on the page. The award-winning illustrator takes us on a breathtaking tour of the planet's most astonishing natural phenomena, from explosive volcanoes and geysers, to a cave filled with crystals, to dancing lights in the night sky. Her previous book, Glow, got great reviews, and we actually sold out of the first printing and had to print more. Ben Rothery's Weird and Wonderful Animals is another one with amazing illustrations. These illustrations look like photographs, but are actually all hand-drawn. Readers of this field guide-like book will learn that what makes an axolotl or flying snake so strange, to humans at least, is often exactly what helps it to survive in its habitat. Tiny Titans and Chasing Guano are both coming out in June from Tilbury House. These are 2 new titles in the How Nature Works series and are full of photographs, illustrations, and primary source research that take you deep into the world of plankton and penguins. And then since I have you all here, I couldn't resist adding in some titles for teens. The Smoke That Thunders is a debut fantasy by a Nigerian writer. The story is rooted in West African mythology and brimming with adventure. Teenage Nabori wants to escape the life that has been laid out for her. she starts having strange dreams that lead her to a mysterious animal, which sends her on a journey to rescue a kidnapped prince and stop a war that might tear her country apart. There is not much blood, gore, or romance, so this would work well for younger teens. Paula Yu's first YA book, From a Whisper to a Rallying Cry, was a finalist for the YALSA Excellence in Nonfiction Award and won the Boston Globe Horn Book Award. In her new book, Rising from the Ashes, she digs into the stories behind the protests that shook Los Angeles following the 1992 Rodney King beating verdict and the impact on Korean and Black American communities. The book carefully explores the perspectives of the Black and Korean American communities and the tensions between them, and how these events were both a flashpoint and a bridge to reconciliation and a common purpose. Paula tells a compelling, informed, and nuanced story of a moment in recent American history that continues to resonate today, as both police brutality and racially motivated hate crimes remain at the forefront of our national consciousness. My next book is Road Home by Rex Ogle. His first memoir, Free Lunch, won the YALSA Excellence in Nonfiction Award. In Road Home, he fills in the holes that were left in his previous books, talking about how his father kicked him out at 17 years old when he found out that Rex was gay. This was a difficult story for him to write. Rex lived on the streets of New Orleans until, in desperation, he called his grandmother, who sent him money to come home. Rex tells the story of his coming out, rejection, sexual assault, survival on the streets, self-acceptance, and recovery, providing hope to teens who might be facing similar challenges, and also giving a glimpse into the struggles that other people might be facing. And then just a note on 2 YA titles in paperback. Abuela Don't Forget Me shares Rex's memories of his beloved grandmother, and All That It Ever Meant is a debut novel by an author from Zimbabwe that tackles family, grief, and identity, and it has quite a big twist at the end. You can find our catalogs through these links here, and you can sign up for the Norton Library newsletter through the library marketing link underneath my name on the slide. I do print ARC giveaways in the newsletter a few times a year, and many of our digital ARCs are available to request on Edelweiss and NetGalley. So thank you so much to everybody for listening and for all of the work that you're doing to support the kids and teens in your town. And I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Golda. Finally, we'll hear from Maddie Hughes. Maddie is the Associate Manager for School and Library Marketing at Disney Publishing, where she has been a part of the team since 2018. She is thrilled to be able to read and talk about children's books of all kinds as part of her job. Originally from Denver, Maddie is now based in LA, where she loves to hike, knit, and of course, visit her local library. Thank you for being here, Maddie.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to present some of the upcoming middle grade titles from Disney Publishing. First up is Lightning Born, which is the first book in an exciting new series called Storm Dragons by bestselling author Julie Kagawa. Remy spends his days trying to survive the mean streets of Cutthroat Wedge, one of the many islands floating in the gravitational pull of the magical maelstrom raging below. But his life changes forever when a violent storm brings a baby dragon to his doorstep, and he feels a bond he has never felt with anyone. Remy names the dragon Storm and vows to protect this new friend, no matter the cost. When Remy's path crosses with a princess who has discovered that their kingdom is sinking into the maelstrom and only a dragon can save them, the two must learn to trust in each other as they team up with a shifty pirate captain and her crew, stand together against impossible odds, and embark on the adventure of a lifetime. This book has everything that you could want in a fantasy: action, adventure, pirates, magic, and of course dragons, and is sure to be a hit with middle grade readers. Next, we have Explorer Academy Vela, the Sailor Cipher, which offers another action-packed adventure. This is the first book in a new standalone spin-off series of the original Explorer Me series, which combines the lore, adventure, and rich history of the National Geographic Society with the latest science and details from real expeditions in the field, combined with a fun puzzle-filled story kids will love. So this book is a spin-off series, but it does stand alone, but it starts with the previous supporting character, Sailor York, as the new protagonist. Soon after Cruz, Sailor, Emmett, and Lonnie return for their second year at Explorer Academy, their sense of calm is shattered when Sailor's older sister goes missing. Amidst incredible expeditions to far-flung destinations and competitive classes, Sailor bravely steps into the lead to discover how her sister's sudden disappearance may be linked to an illegal and deadly animal trafficking ring. As the recruits face puzzling obstacles and try to follow complex clues, Sailor realizes that there's only one thing that could save her sister in time, revealing her own deepest secret. Curveball is an original graphic novel written by Pablo Cartaya and illustrated by Miguel Diaz-Rivas with tons of heart. Based behind. The problem is, Elena has no idea who she is without a bat in her hand. Can a summer spent with her brother's quirky friends LARPing in an empty sandlot that offers a world of possibilities show Elena who she is and teach her to love to play again? And then we have a little look at the interior, and I hope, like me, you'll be cheering for Elena and her friends and family long after the last page. The Last Tree Witch. Since her mother died when she was 5 years old, it's always just been Ronnie Miller and her dad, two Korean Americans who, thanks to Ronnie's dad's adoption by white parents, have never felt all that Korean. But Ronnie's okay with that. As long as she has her dad and her best friend Jack, Ronnie is 99% certain she can get through anything. But as much as she wants everything to stay the same, the world and her dad has other plans. Now Ronnie and Jack are headed away to sleepaway camp for the first time ever. Camp Foster promises all the outdoorsy activities that she avoids. But this isn't any regular camp. Turns out, an old manor in the woods is the kind of place that's crawling with secrets. Secrets like a mysterious guishin haunting the grounds, a blood-red scarf wrapped too tightly around her ghostly neck, and a witch-hunting dokkaebee intent on finding and silencing the last free witch. And the strange habit all the counselors have of rhyming when they speak, just like Ronnie has begun to do lately. For a girl who wants everything to stay the same, nothing is scarier than all the changes Camp Foster brings. New friends, new foes, souls with unfinished business, and possibly worst of all, revelations that disprove everything Ronnie knew to be true. Debut author Jenna Lee Yoon combines magic, mystery, suspense, and humor into a spooky, action-packed contemporary fantasy with influences of Korean folklore in this exciting new middle grade novel. For fans of The Descendants, get excited. In advance of the release of Descendants, The Rise of Red, Melissa de la Cruz has written an original prequel novel set in Wonderland. It's been 5 years since the last Descendants movie was released, but the world of the films continues to be popular, and we know fans are going to be very excited for the new installment. Spider-Man Stories from Across the Spider-Verse is a collection of 10 stories from well-known authors writing across the Spider-Verse. In addition to more familiar Spideys like Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy, this collection also features Spider-Punk, a breakout fan favorite in the Across the Spider-Verse movie, in a story by Frederick Joseph, and fan favorites from the comics like the queer hero Webweaver, written by co-creator Steve Fox, and the Black Muslim hero Spider UK, written here by New York Times bestselling author Farida Abike Iyamide. Get ready for Dex Dingo, the world's next greatest ever something. Dex Dingo isn't the best at anything. He's not the smartest, the funniest, the strongest, or the nicest. So when his teacher gives him an assignment about what he wants to be when he grows up, Dex decides that he's going to be the best at one of the best jobs ever, according to him, starting with inventor. Filled with clever humor and touching insight, this new chapter book graphic novel series follows Dex's misadventures as his attempts at the coolest jobs go awry. And we have also a look at the interior here with the illustration style from the author-illustrator Greg Foley. And this is the first book in a new series, and the second book will be out next year. Oh, muses, get ready for Greeking Out Heroes and Olympians, which features tongue-in-cheek tales from Greek mythology, as told by the team behind the Webby Award-winning podcast Greeking Out. This follow-up to last year's book, also called Greeking Out, has 20 new myth retellings. In this book, you'll encounter a god kidnapped by pirates, sheep used as camouflage, a super shiny fleece, some dangerous metalworking, the world's most perfect animal, a really heavy boulder, and much more. Dynamic, playful illustrations coupled with laugh-out-loud storytelling and real information about ancient Greece, delivered by the all-knowing Oracle of Wi-Fi, make this collection of fabulous fables an essential addition to your library. And then I wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the new and upcoming books from the Rick Riordan Presents imprint. Winston Chu versus the Wingmeisters is the second book in the Winston Chu duology by Stacey Lee, and is a whimsical mile-a-minute adventure inspired by Chinese mythology. And then It Waits in the Forest is a YA book from the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, so it's better for more mature readers, but I did want to mention it in the roundup. Unlike the other residents of St. Virgil, Selena de Silva doesn't believe in magic, but when a string of strange murders strikes the island, Selena can't deny the truth. There's evil lurking in the forest. Drawing from the darkest corners of Caribbean mythology, acclaimed author Sarah Doss crafts a chilling tale of magic, murder, and how far we'll go to protect what's ours. And then we have Paua and the Dragon's Secret, which is a follow-up to Paua and the Soul Stealer, Lori M. Lee's fantasy adventure series about a girl who is the reincarnation of the greatest warrior of all time, which takes inspiration from the author's Hmong heritage. And then next, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Wrath of the Triple Goddess is the next installment in the Percy Jackson series. This book and series needs little introduction, but just wanted to put the next book on your radar and show off this incredible cover. And then finally, I wanted to give a brief introduction to a very exciting new imprint we're launching in the fall. It's called Freedom Fire and is a joint project that's headed by Kwame Mbalia, the author of the Tristan Strong series in partnership with Disney Hyperion. Freedom Fire's mission is to provide stories by and about Black people from across the diaspora, stories that center joy, inspire resilience, and continue the age-old tradition of imparting wonder and excitement through the turn of a page. Because at the end of the day, every child deserves a book they can both lose themselves in and find themselves in. The inaugural list includes some very exciting titles from some very exciting authors. The first is a new contemporary fantasy from Tracy Baptiste, Moko Magic Carnival Chaos, which is an Afro-Caribbean inspired story about three cousins who discover they are Mokos, protector spirits, during carnival season in Brooklyn. There is also a new contemporary fantasy from Kwame Mbalia, Jax Freeman and the Phantom Shriek, which follows a young boy, Jax Freeman, as he discovers a secret world within our own where kids can wield magic by summoning the power of their ancestors. And then the third book from the imprint that's coming this fall is the short story collection Black Girl Power, edited by Leah Johnson, which includes stories and poems from 15 authors that celebrate the joy, strength, and experience of Black girlhood. We're all really excited about these books, and we can't wait for them to be out in the world. So that's all from me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. This has my email. And also we have many of the titles I mentioned today available as e-galleys on NetGalley. So feel free to look for them and put in a request there. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Maddie. And a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Staff training, in-services, local conference, Booklist can help. You can now order or request free copies of Booklist and Booklist Reader for upcoming staff training programs, so you can help the next generation of library workers become readers, advisory, and collection development superstars. Scan the QR code on the screen, visit our website, or email info@booklistonline.com for more details. Mastering the art of reader's advisory involves ongoing study, both of major concepts that form the backbone of good RA practice and of the skills that make your RA practice effective in the day-to-day. Join Booklist on Thursday, March 14th, for a free extended workshop designed to help you stay up to speed on both the ideas and practice that will enhance your RA game. Register now to learn from experts in the field about how genres relate to each other, how to talk to patrons about their leisure reading, and how to write an effective book annotation. Visit our website for details. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Charlesbridge, Shadow Mountain, Yen Press, Norton, and Disney Books. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.